Okay.
All right.
Oh, we're live. Look at that.
We're live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this last session of the last day of Ignite. We're going to talk about how you can govern your Azure estate using PowerShell and CLI with AI. We have a few innovations we want to talk to you about using those different tools. But before we get there, I want to present myself. I'm Damien Caro. I'm a product manager in the command line tools.
Yeah, and I'm Stephen Bucher. I'm also one of the product managers on Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell. So we're excited to share off some of the cool new stuff we've been building.
But before we get there, we changed the slides a little bit earlier this week because we wanted to ask you a couple of questions. And it may reflect to some of the things you've heard this week happening in the world about deployment progress. One of the questions I have to you to think about is how long does it take for you or your team, your company, to move a code to production? How long is that pipeline taking? Is it taking hours? Is it taking days? Is it taking weeks? All of that depends on the maturity of your team, your DevOps team, your DevOps principles applied along to the frequency of your deployment. How often do you deploy? Even at Microsoft, the teams we have that are deploying services in Azure have different frequencies. Some of them deploy multiple times a day. Others deploy once a week, or even less frequently. It depends on the business needs. Now, here's the tricky question, is how often your deployment in production fail? We've had some very recent experiences that show that it's not always a happy path, right?
Yeah.
No one in target.
Yeah, well, we're not targeting anyone in particular this week or last or the week before.
Or previous one.
Yeah, it's been a busy month for a lot of people, it seems.
In the cloud, yeah. We still have to learn on that step. But reflect on your side as well, on your company, on your process, how often it happens, how a configuration is successfully deployed. What is the percentage that means? And finally, how long does it take to restore the service? How long does it take to go back to prod, like where it's all green and happy and you can actually breathe a little bit, get a coffee before you fix things? All of that reflect to something I like very much. It's at the heart of what I've been working and talking about for the last few years, is the DORA metrics. DORA stands for DevOps Research and Assessment. There is a website, DORA.dev. If you have never been there, just have a look there. It's good. There's a local online assessment you can take and understand where you stand and where you want to be. It's not necessary that everyone wants to be at the highest deployment frequency, but knowing where you are is helping your team to be better and know exactly how is the next step. The four areas that DORA stands on is deployment frequency. We just talked about that. The lead time for change. The change failure rate, and finally, the mean time to restore.
Or MTTR.
MTTR. Those are very key metrics that help understand how your pipelines, how your DevOps is behaving.
Show of hands, who's heard of DORA or used this in their organizations today with deployment? Okay.
Okay.
A couple of hands, yeah. It's something that's been gaining a lot more steam lately as DevOps is becoming more complicated over the years, and the need for resiliency and making sure that your deployments are online and working is, it's been catching on quite a bit lately. So,
as we talk about DORA, you may think, okay, I have my process in place, I have all of that in place, but what we're seeing from where we stand, not everyone is into this full DevOps adoption. Mm-hmm. And I think, Stephen, you wanted to go about one specific area here.
Yeah, so who's heard of the word ClickOps before? I think pretty much everyone in this room should probably raise their hand, because I'm sure everyone has done kind of ClickOps before. I've done ClickOps. It's fantastic. You've done ClickOps.
I've done ClickOps. It's easy.
What's that?
It's easy.
It's very easy, and it's great. ClickOps is the idea of being a manual UI-driven operations for DevOps. So this is going through the Azure portal, any kind of GUI interface to click around and do the jobs that you want done via the portal. This is fantastic. Honestly, it's a great way to learn and get started with these tools. However, as you start to evolve in your infrastructure journey, in your DevOps journey, you start to realize that there's a couple problems with ClickOps. The first one is it's error prone. I've definitely accidentally clicked on the wrong setting, or I've mistyped a character in the name of the location or any of the settings for anything that I'm trying to deploy. And that can lead to a lot of errors. But what's also bad about ClickOps is it's slow and it's not really collaborative. If I want to create a VM and then I go through the Azure portal, I click through it, I put on the settings, and I say, hey Damien, can you do that again for me? Can you create the exact VM that I just created?
I could do it maybe one, but the second one probably will forget one of those settings, and that starts to drift from what you had in mind.
Yeah, and so now all of a sudden, I just created our non-prod environment, and I asked Damien to create our prod environment, and now they're mismatched. And we've created a bunch of technical debt and mismatching, and it's difficult to handle a good environment that way. So that's a little bit about ClickOps. What we're trying to really do is how you can get from ClickOps to a more resilient infrastructure as code, and using more imperative tools like Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell to get the jobs done much easier and quicker, so that I can deploy my VM with a script and say, hey Damien, can you deploy the same VM? And what do? I just hand him the script and he does it. He doesn't have to do really anything about that.
My problem when I'm doing that is, how do I know the script?
Yes, yes. So getting started with scripting can be difficult. There's over 10,000 plus commands and parameters for Azure commands themselves. But it's very important to improving your deployment frequency by getting involved in scripting and getting involved in coding when working with your infrastructure here. Code is king. Scripting and automation approach is essential for becoming less error prone and being a lot more collaborative with your colleagues and stuff, so you can have a much more resilient infrastructure. Like I mentioned, there's 10,000 plus commands, so it is a little bit hard to get started with all of these tools here. It's difficult to find the right parameter and the right values here, and so this is one of the key areas that we've been investing in, and is how to get you started with coding and scripting with Azure much easier and quicker. We want to be available wherever you work, and so the first area that we are working to improve our coverage of CLI and PowerShell commands is within the Azure portal. So I'm going to actually jump here. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to jump over to the Azure portal here. We're making a lot of improvements to the Azure Copilot experience, where you can ask kind of your job to be done with natural language and get back your code as script here. So something cool that we're really excited about is getting a lot more integrated into this experience. So here's the Copilot experience. I'm actually going to expand the page here so you guys can see it here. So I can ask it something like, how do I create a storage account and a new resource group with Azure CLI?
Can you also do that for PowerShell?
Of course, of course.
Awesome.
So we are working quite a lot to have coverage between Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell. And so, anything that we're sharing here can be done with CLI and PowerShell themselves. We're just going through, our normal demo script or whatever here. So this is great. I can get a look at my commands and stuff. This is great and all. So this is getting started with a new resource group and a new storage account. It looks, pretty good here. However, I can't edit this stuff. I can't run this stuff. I got to copy and paste this, and I got to move all this stuff around here. And so something we're really excited about is with the new Azure Copilot agent mode, we've integrated a lot more ways for you to edit and run your PowerShell and CLI commands directly in the portal experience, just to get you started with a couple of the one-off commands you need to build your bigger script. So if I go ahead and enable agent mode and I kind of ask the same question,
I think you have to type it again.
Oh, I do have to type again. Yeah, can you help me create an Azure Key Vault? Let's change it up with Azure CLI. So agent mode is going to think a lot more and reason over kind of my intent and the things that I want to be done based on my history and based on what's going on in my environment here. And once it loads here, it's going to give me a much better experience for being able to edit and run these commands here. So you can see here, okay, it's starting to reason over the things. It's going to generate the commands. Standard options, show the common post-creation scripts. We're working to really improve the quality and understanding that these commands have here. And it's generating this thing called a Cloud Shell artifact here. And so once this loads up, we'll show you what exactly that looks like here. Okay, cool. So a very simple command here. I gotta change the name. I gotta change the resource group. Well, I'm gonna click on this Cloud Shell artifact here, and we are actually created a new experience for being able to edit and run your commands directly in this page as you get started with scripting in general. I'll full screen this page here, but you'll see here we can actually edit the key vault name now. So I'm gonna say 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗍𝗀𝗀𝗐𝗍𝗍. Oh. And then...
And I don't know if you've paid attention, but that parameter was in a slightly different color to highlight where you have to make the edits to make it compliant with your environment.
Yep. Yep, and so we're working to make syntax highlighting a lot more integrated within this experience here. Once I have this ready, we already have a Cloud Shell instance ready for me to actually run these commands. And so I can run this, and it will execute in Cloud Shell, and I don't have the right policies there. That's right, because I'm in this particular tenant. Well, this command will run, and I'll be able to get my key vault stuff squared away here. I can go back to one of my existing chats here and show you this kind of stuff. But we can do multi-command kind of exploration here, where you can step through and walk through your different steps for a multi-command experience. Here's another example here where we have a lot larger of a script here. And we can take a look at the key vault stuff, and we can actually go step by step and run each command and edit them as we need that way. So that's some of the improvements that we are working towards with the Azure Copilot experience. Let's jump back to the slides here, though, and talk a little bit more about how you can improve your infrastructure with some of the DORA metrics. Yeah, Damien, you want to talk about
Yeah, I can talk about the next one, which is how you reduce change failure rate. I have a quick question here. How many of you have been to Traffic Manager, delete a profile of Traffic Manager, and at that specific moment when you press delete, you think twice, like, am I deleting the right one? Am I not going to delete anything that is live in prod?
Yeah.
Right? That moment of stress when you think twice before you click the button. Well, that's the guy on the top right of the screen.
Yeah, he's pretty stressed out. We've all been there, and we've all hesitated to hit that enter key just before executing a command, right? We don't know if it's going to take down things, if we're deleting things, or creating things that add a lot more cost or whatever. It's stressful.
Yep, it is, and you want to think twice about that. So one thing that we've heard from everyone, from you in the room or other people that have been around the world, we don't have the ability for a command line, Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell command, to be able to say what's going to happen. You can do it with a template. If you have Bicep template or ARM template, you'll be able to preview those changes, but we don't have that on a single command. You do AZ storage delete. Well, that seems obvious, but like, yeah, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. So we are adding this what if parameter to Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell. We call it dry run in PowerShell.
Yeah, because there happens to be a what if already for PowerShell, so we
Absolutely.
So we gotta change it up.
We've been coherent with the language, the syntax here, and we're planning to roll out to all type of commands that are in the management plane. So all those operations are something that we have in scope right now. Mm-hmm. We're looking at the operations that are the most sensitive, the most critical ones, like create. We can say, okay, we can argue on this one. Update and delete, definitely in scope. We want to be sure that those have the ability to do this what if. We are not going to cover the data plane operations nor the graph operations. This is not something that we want to do or don't really have a scope for now. But without further ado, I think I would switch to my screen and show you how that looks.
Yeah. Can you guys all see this?
Can you all see my screen?
In the back there? Okay, I see some thumbs up in the back. We should be good.
Okay, awesome. So my demo is going to use the network command. I picked this one because it's easy, but also has a lot of changes that you can do between the VNet and the subnet and all of that. So before the session, I've created my network. I've created this command, a VNet with a 10.0.0.0/16 address prefix and a subnet of 10.0.0.0/24. That seems pretty straightforward, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to run this command, and let's say I want to update my VNet with a VNet of 10.1.0/16. So I'm going to copy this command. I'm going to run it. It takes a bit of time, so I'm going to talk through that as I'm running it. So this command is going to look at what we're trying to do, and it's going to compare. Here it is. It's going to understand what the command is doing. We're connecting to a service that is doing that analysis of the command. It's going to compare that operation that I'm trying to run with the resource group that already exists and the resources that are already in place in my subscription. Make that difference, make the diff, and then return to me the overall delta that's going to happen. The API that we're using today, again, we're in preview. It's a bit slow. It's going to take another 30 seconds or so to complete, so bear with me. We're going to work on improving the performance and ensuring that those respond much, much faster than that. But we're going to, the response is going to have the highlighting syntax like you were using in Bicep. We're going to have that little plus and little minus. And we're going to export the JSON object of the resources as they're going to be created. So all of that is happening here as we're speaking. It's finalizing the result. You see the little squirty things that is turning around, and that's indicating me that it's going to complete, and here it is. So here's the response in my terminal. Let me zoom out a little bit more so you can see here. So you see the VNet I'm trying to do here. What is it going to change? It's going to disable the VNet policy. The address prefixes are going to change. So the 10.0.0.0 is going to be removed. It has this little minus, and it's in kind of red-ish to make sure that you're seeing that. And the green one is the one that are being added with the little plus. So that's kind of the Bicep differentiation syntax that is exposed here. I have a summary of the changes that are going to happen. So the resource change that is going to be, the resources that are going to be changed, how are going to be modified, how many are going to be deleted, and so on and so on. So that's, as I said, that's something that we're working on, we are deploying. If you want to try out the private preview, we gave you a little QR code here, and we're going to put the QR code at the end of the session so you can sign up, leave your contact, and we're going to get you into it. So that is how you can get more confident in the changes that are going to happen. And most of the time, when you do those scripts, you're going to build them based on your experience in Portal. I'm doing this, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do this. And here I want to show you one thing. It's how you can get from one command at a time to having a script that runs and iterates around those different operations. So for that, I'm using GitHub Copilot, using a new chat. OK. Here it is. I want it on the left. Yeah, I've prepared the prompt. I'm lazy. I don't know how to type in front of hundreds of people. So I go for that. And what it's doing, it's reading, like here in this case, I'm going to take a CSV of subnets so I can change all of that. And I'm going to let the Copilot in Azure understand, GitHub Copilot understand the reason of what I'm doing. So it's reading the script that I have built or starting to build, and then understand that I'm reading a CSV file. Then we'll create in my existing code changes, and we'll integrate the what-if capability in that code. So here it's going to read the CSV that I'm talking about, and for each of them, it's going to look at them and see if the operation has been successful or not. And that's how you can start from one command to having a script that is going to do a lot of operations in your environment. That's a step toward having a full automation play that you can repeat. You can do a what if it's going to happen. You can see, oh, I'm changing this file. I can run that again and again and have a more consistent and predictable approach of your deployments. That's what we like to show as part of that inner loop experience, how you build your script before you get to the DevOps pipelines.
Yeah, and we're making loads of improvements to GitHub Copilot and some of the Azure MCP tools to better emphasize or better assist you, with Azure PowerShell and Azure CLI commands. And so it will actually generate things for you here. Why don't I, yeah, we can go back here. I'll show off my VS Code here. I'll just show a new thing here. But we've integrated a lot better with the Azure MCP tool. The Azure MCP has, let's see if I can find it. They have loads of different ones, but we have one right here. It's called Generating the Azure CLI Commands. And so this will actually call a tool that we've built to better validate and check the syntax readiness for your Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell commands within GitHub Copilot. So we're really trying to reduce any sort of hallucinations that these third-party modules have, third-party AIs have, models have, tongue twister there, and make sure that you guys are grounded in real syntax that's trained on the data that we have from Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, and within the documentation itself. So let's jump back here to the slides. So that's a little bit about kind of, the reducing the change failure rate. Oh, actually, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you guys that this is kind of what it looks like in PowerShell as well. Like I said, we have coverage with Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell here. So here I've just created a new virtual network. It looks a little bit better with the black background with some of the coloring here. But we have just created a new we're going to see what's going to happen before we create a new virtual network here. And I've just created my names, my locations, whatever. And I've run the dry run command with the Azure PowerShell set of commands. And we can see here, this is a much more concise view because it's a simple create. But what it tells me is, this is what's been created. This is the scope of the creation within this resource group. And it shows me all the other kind of details that may not necessarily be shown within the command itself. The API version, some of the ID of the network, the location, the name, the prefix, the type. That's always kind of helpful for me to see the type of it. And the
object return, because we're in the PowerShell world, this is an object that is returned compared to CLI, which returns a string, so it allows you to do some manipulation here.
Yeah, so we're working to make it all, with your usual PowerShell objectness of the pipelines and stuff that you can build out. So, but again, this command has not created a new virtual network for me. This has given me a bit more confidence, a bit more okay, this is what's going to happen. So now I feel better that it's going to do that. Creates, pretty simple. The updates and deletes are the ones that are the scarier ones. And so we want to make sure it's deleting the stuff that we want correctly and easily that way. Cool. So now we can go back to the slides here. As you mentioned, this is within the inner loop. Do you want to talk, what does inner loop mean?
Well, inner loop is that process that you have when you're working on your machine. You want to do tests, you want to prepare everything before you go to prod. So it allows you to have that very quick experience, iteration, before you actually evolve to, again, production environment.
Yeah. So cool. Let's jump over to kind of the next section here. Now, reducing the mean time to restore. This is the really, really important piece of the kind of DORA DevOps metrics here. Being able to recover to a known good state. If you guys are in a bad state with your infrastructure, you want to get back to the last known good state as quickly as possible. But that's sometimes difficult with ClickOps. How did I know what the previous state was? Did I click on the right settings? Did I do the right things that way? I don't know. So that's where infrastructure as code with source control can help. Anyone here use infrastructure as code within their environments? Okay, yeah, lots of hands up. Well, great. Infrastructure as code is a clear answer to being able to recover back to a known good state. There's a lot of emphasis and a lot of detail, a lot of instructions and documentation out there on how you can write infrastructure as code. And if you have it in a GitHub repo or any sort of source control repo, you can say, well, you can track the commits. So if Damien made an edit and everything went wrong for some reason, well, we can take a look at what was happening right before his commit, or right before his change, so we can recover faster and easier to a state that we know is good. And that state was probably when I committed, because I never will make a mistake when it comes to infrastructure as code, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that after.
We can talk about that after. No, but however, there is a challenge to getting started with infrastructure as code. What we've been talking about with CLI and PowerShell, it's kind of what we call imperative coding. It's a much more step-by-step approach where you can create a script and it does step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and there's conditions as well. Hey, if this thing's gonna happen, don't do that. If that thing's gonna happen, do that. Right? There's a lot of, you can make some pretty complicated scripts.
And that's what I was showing with that VNet. You can loop through a CSV, a bunch of things that are going to happen, and you create those. And what's very easy with the imperative approach is you know the steps and you're replicating the steps that you've been following in the portal. You go from, oh, I've been doing this and that and this, and now you replicate that into your script. The challenge is really how you get from there, where you have your script, and maybe some of you have built script this way, and they're running, they're good. How do you go from there to infrastructure as code? How do you create your Bicep code? And that can be challenging, that can be complicated. I was talking to some customers not very long ago, and they're like, yeah, we have scripts, they're running. I don't want to spend days to change that to infrastructure as code. It has a lot of challenges coming with it.
Yeah, and so to kind of help address this problem, we are excited to announce a export Bicep feature for Azure PowerShell and Azure CLI commands. And so Bicep is one of the many different infrastructure as code languages. It's specific to Azure, but it's a great language because it kind of documents itself with the verbosity of it. The verbosity that you're familiar with PowerShell kind of translates a little bit over with Bicep, because it says, hey, I'm declaring everything that I have here. With this file, I can clearly see that, yes, I want to deploy a virtual machine or a storage account or a web app or whatever we want. And so we've introduced a way to be able to take the imperative code that you've created with Azure PowerShell and Azure CLI and translate it to a infrastructure as code template that you can build upon. So let's take a look at this in action here. I've actually gone ahead and kind of run this already here, so you guys don't have to wait through the monotony of what's going on in the back end. So this is the command that I've run. I've just created a storage account, specified the name, location, resource group, and I've added the what if and the export Bicep parameters together. Once that's done, you can see that we have the what if output of all the details about what's going on. You can see also we have some additional properties of some of the default things here. So I can say, I have some of the access tier, and I only support HTTP traffic. So it's a little bit more detailed that way from the CLI. And then you'll notice here we have a little setting here that just says, hey, Bicep templates are saved to this file here. So what we've done is, let me go over to VS Code here and take a look here. Here's my what if folder where we save all these files to here. And from there, let me zoom in a bit.
Zoom a bit, yeah.
There we go. Hopefully that's a little bit better. But with a single parameter, I'm able to export, and it's going to write this whole Bicep file for me and export it and extract it from the Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell commands here. So you can see even within the Bicep, it says Bicep template itself. You can see that we've extracted from this parameter, we've extracted from that parameter, and we've even gone ahead and added some more details with like the min length and max length stuff to this Bicep template here. So this is a great way to get started, but that's it's great. You can do so much more with infrastructure as code as well. So we work closely with the Bicep team at Microsoft, and they've been working to add a number of MCP tools to build on top of this experience. So I'm going to open up GitHub Copilot chat here, and I'm going to just start a new chat. Let's just say, well, first of all, I'm new to Bicep. I really don't know anything about Bicep. I'll be the first person to know here. First person to admit that here. But we want to make sure it's in line with the best practices that we've documented on the Microsoft Learn website within the Bicep repo. And so I'm going to ask it, I'm going to attach this file to my GitHub Copilot chat here and say, hey, can you help me apply the best practices to this file? And it's going to think, and it's going to take that, and it's actually going to call the Bicep MCP server to get the best practices from our documentation and apply them for this. So it's going to take a look here. It's going to find a bunch of things like removing unnecessary parameters, adding secure, improving parameter description, and then it's going to say, hey, would you like me to edit this file here? So it's a big string here. I'm going to say allow here, and let's take a look at kind of what it's changed.
What is important is you remain in control of what's happening. It's a suggestion of changes, and then you decide if you want to apply them or not. You can follow all the recommendations, or you can say, no, that's not something I want to follow, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it looks like it's done a number of things just to make things a little bit more descriptive for me. Changed up the title, the author, all this stuff here. I'm going to just undo a lot of this stuff. We don't need this right now. But what we can also do is expand upon it. Has anyone heard of the Azure Verified modules from Microsoft here? Okay, number of hands. The guy who manages it is sitting front row. So if you have questions about it, go bother him. But anyways, the Azure Verified modules are a great tool for being able to look and get started with a bunch of modules to expand your Bicep and Terraform usage. But it can be kind of cumbersome to look through the website and stuff, or I'm not really sure what I'm doing with this, but I know I've started from this. Think about where we started. We started just from I want to create a storage account. And then from there, I was like, okay, it gave me the CLI commands. I learned a bit more about what that CLI command is going to do, and then I said, okay, I want to make this as more repeatable with infrastructure as code. So I exported it to Bicep. And so now I'm taking that Bicep and I'm expanding it more in the span of, I'm looking at the timer, like 20 minutes we're able to get from nothing to becoming much more of a hero with imperative and declarative code for my organization. So I'll open up GitHub chat again, and I'm going to ask another question that says, hey, can you check out the Azure Verified modules and to expand out this script to deploy, not just one, but a couple more storage accounts. That's kind of the beauty of it there with Bicep too, is like, I can keep declaring as much storage accounts as I want with this stuff. So it's going to go ahead, and it's actually going to go to the Azure Verified module website and apply it. It's going to take a look and read through some of the examples that they have there. I'm going to give it allow, so it's going to take a look. It's fetching all the information it needs here. It found the storage account README for this. Perfect. It found some of the AVM modules for supporting multiple blob storage containers, file containers, whatever. And it's going to expand out my template to demonstrate this capability here. So it's working, it's thinking through. Behind the scenes, if I expand this, you'll see there's a lot of it even links out to the actual module that I can connect to there. So yeah, but let's go back here. Oh boy, that's a lot of, yeah. But look at that. I can now just apply this, and before the changes happen, I can review it just like I can. I can see, okay, file shares here. Those all look correct here, and now I can verify it and expand it out as needed. So let's jump back to the slides here to talk a little bit more about the application. So that's a little bit about writing scripts and infrastructure as code. Something we wanted to emphasize too is what we did here is we took the Azure CLI commands, we extrapolated all the parameters and details about that, about the particular operation that that's doing, and translated it into Bicep.
Yeah. So there's one thing that I like very much, especially when I'm doing that work. When we're doing the translation from a command, a CLI command or PowerShell command to Bicep, we're highlighting the name of the parameter in CLI and match the corresponding parameter in Bicep. That is a way to help you translate whatever code you have or whatever example you found on internet, on our documentation, or any other source repo, and understand what is the mapping here. The intention is to help you accelerate that work on building those Bicep files. And the one we have here is very straightforward, like location. That seems very obvious. But sometimes, you know, the name of the parameter in Bicep would be X, and the name in the CLI might be Y. And it's hard to map those two values. Here we're trying to bridge the gap to make it so easy to understand that you can go and replicate that at scale in your environment. That's one of the things we're very proud of. It's really helping you do that transition.
Yeah, should we wrap things up a little bit and do
yeah.
Q&A too? We get it's the last day, so we wanted to make this a very casual conversation with everyone here. But you know, let's talk about a little bit about the key takeaways.
So the first thing I want to emphasize is, don't get scared of scripting or code. It's here to help you. And AI is really your assistant. So the way I'm thinking of any model, any system is really someone I'm not shy to ask any stupid questions. And that's what it's here for. It's really helping me answer any of those dumb questions. And you should think of it the same way. The Azure MCP, our Copilot, the Bicep MCP server as well is here to help you improve that deployment frequency, getting you more in a running mode with trust, with the ability for you to trust what is the response and how it's going to help your operations in your company, with the intention to reduce what we said, the change failure rate and improve the mean time to recover. All those are very important parameters that we're looking at when it comes to DevOps. And the tools we're building are here to help you improve on all of those aspects. Before I come to the last one, as I said, this is something that is in preview. We are very excited to show it today. But we haven't communicated to anyone yet. So it's the chance for you to join the private preview or limited public preview, we should say, to help us do better, help us also influence the direction of the tool, see what should be done, how we should do that. So there's a QR code. It's not a malicious link. It's a place that goes to a Microsoft form, and you leave your email address, and we'll reach out to you on what is the process to get the bits and get into the program. So that's all what it is. The ak.ms is just the link that is under the QR code. So it's not two links, it's the same one.
You can't say it's a malicious link.
No, it is not a malicious link.
Say that.
Someone mentioned that earlier today. I was like, oh no, we're not doing it.
But yeah, no, we're really excited to have you guys help us shape the Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell future here. So we do appreciate your time with this stuff. We have a little bit of spare time, so we are open to have some Q&A. If you are to have a question, you can kind of come up to the microphone here, and we can try to answer it as a group here. So, yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So this is awesome. Question, future state, will there be an option to be able to get existing resources and dump them into like a Bicep script? Take existing stuff that was done via ClickOps or some other way so you can move it into modern deployment methods with Bicep?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're definitely improving a lot of the export capabilities from the portal experience so that you can go into the portal itself and then export the commands themselves. I don't know, do we know where that, do you want to even pull it up?
I'm going to put it up here.
I think you have it under.
I'm trying to zoom in.
So I guess to kind of expand on what I'm really asking is, can you like point at a resource group and say, get all resources here and export a Bicep template of the entire resource group and everything in there?
Yeah, so you can do that. I'll swap it.
Switch to my screen. There it is.
So in the portal, you can do that today. You can go to a particular resource group and you can export the template as ARM, Bicep, and Terraform, and we're working to have some stuff with CLI and PowerShell there in the future.
Thank you.
No problem.
I think you probably have answered my question. My next question is, do you have an export to Terraform?
Export to Terraform?
We do have the export to Terraform, which is actually next to you have on the screen the ARM template, Bicep, and Terraform. So we are also exporting to Terraform files for that resource.
Not yet from CLI to Terraform.
But not from CLI to Terraform.
Not yet from CLI to Terraform. This is our first endeavor into this kind of translation layer here, so not yet.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Do you have plans to integrate with other services like IPAM, for instance, for creating virtual network? You don't want to have like overlapping CIDR.
IPAM,
The future.
it will come at some point, but that's not on our tier 1 of services that we're looking at. If you have a specific scenario that you want to highlight, we could reconsider the priorities for that, but it's not on our top list for now.
Okay, one more question. Also, have you thought about integrating this feature with the various Azure policies? Because there, in an enterprise, there are a lot of deny policies for creating various resources. I'm actually struggling with that right now. Right? The command line is super simple, but every time you try to create something, it's always denied by upfront via Azure.
Okay. We're looking at integrating with the policies to have that better experience at the end of the day. So the way we're integrating right now is like the preview of resource creation, but we want to go one step further and have the integration with policies so we can say, when you do the what if, you will have not just the resource, but also how the policies are going to prevent or allow the creation of those resources.
Yeah, I was going to create that initiative working with Microsoft pretty soon. So I'm excited to hear about all this and then to see how we can work together. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? With the new module for the what if and the dry run, is that going to be a new module or a new version of PowerShell, and will that be compatible with other versions?
Yeah, so it's right now it's its own standalone package, just in preview. But our intention is, as we refine it, make it much faster, reliable, and have the right information for you.
It's going to be part of the general availability modules. So right now we're going to have that preview as a parallel deployment. But as soon as we're confident that the capability is stable and has the quality we want, it's going to be part of the stable under GA modules of CLI or PowerShell.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Hey there. I know there's a zip install version of the CLI that doesn't require admin access, but why does the MSI require local admin to install?
That's a good question.
That's for legacy. It's legacy stuff that we have.
I don't know if we're in particular control of that. We can. It's a good question, but we can talk about it more like on the side here too. I don't know if we have any control of that, to be quite honest.
It's not necessarily in our control per se, but we're aware of the issue and we're looking at a way to solve that. But I don't have a good answer for now.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if it actually allowed you to install into local user scope. I mean, obviously, it's capable of doing that. There's nothing it needs at the system scope. But
Absolutely, it's not a requirement. It's just legacy that came from historical reasons.
well, technically do it yourself. Yeah, I know. But all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any advice if you have deployed a good amount of an environment with Terraform, when now there's deprecated AVM modules, sort of managing that now that you originally created them with modules that now are deprecated and no one's really supported? Do you have a best practice for like what you do next?
For upgrading to a more
Even modifying what's currently there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you want to change settings on something you built, whether it's an old front door or it's a traffic manager or it's a resource that, the module's now not really being maintained, but your code, was built off that old AVM. Right now we're just using the old AVM, but, they're deprecated.
Gotcha. For Terraform specifically, I'm not sure. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Do you want
You want
So you're the AVM guy is right here. So I'm gonna pass it over to him, and you guys can chat about it too. He can take the mic for the group.
I won't watch you squirm. That's not fair. Yeah, so AVM. So some of the modules have been deprecated and orphaned, right? There's been a lot of changes at Microsoft, as you've probably seen in the news recently. So module ownership is back on the rise. First of all of you in the room, please contribute. It's all open source, right? Put a PR in. If you can write the code, which it sounds like you can, put the PR in, and we'll review it and submit it, right? Feel free to get in touch with me. I can get one of the team to look at that. If you do need to move away from AVM, or you say, hey, I've got this, but now I need to move away and I'm going to write it myself, you've got Terraform moved blocks, you've got import blocks, you can write your own code and move that in state without having to do the delete and recreate. So all completely possible. All right? But yeah, reach out, come and have a chat. Happy to have a chat.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, thank you everyone so much for coming. Safe travels home, and hope you had a good Ignite.